Welcome back, duelists. It's everyone's favorite part of the format, the end of the format. It is a Banlist Prediction video, and a lot of players have actually had a lot of fun during this format with quite a few decks that have rose up to the metagame, like Branded Illusion, but there's been quite a few cards as well as decks that have been outliers in this format that have made it not as fun as it honestly could be. So we're going over what we really think are those outliers, as well as a few things that Konami could be doing to improve on the metagame. And so first card, I do believe, or we're going to be seeing Forbidden coming up on this next ban list, is Eradicator Epidemic Virus. Honestly, a lot of players are probably not super surprised with that call, because Eradicator Epidemic Virus has actually been destroying the metagame, okay? Not only has it been seeing just an insane amount of play with Labyrinth, being able to search it right off the rip, just blowing out half of your hand turn one, if not your entire spell hand, but other decks have started teching it because they learned once you open it up, it is too good not to be playing. And a lot of decks can easily get a monster on board 25 or higher dark. It's really easy in today's metagame. So Eradicator Epidemic Virus going to 0 would be definitely healthy for the format. Then after that, going to 0 would be Kashtira, a Rise Heart. And again, probably not a surprise to a lot. So Kashtira Rise Heart has been meta warping ever since it has come to the TCG. Not only did we have the Diablos lock last format, the Kashtiras are still reigning supreme, because unless you build your deck around a Rise Heart, once you play against that Kashtira matchup, you are going to essentially lose turn one. They're going to bring out a macro that has constant interruption, and it's going to have that once per turn banish, okay? And even though it's a once per turn banish, we know that it just keeps attaching those materials to it and just has constant interruption during your turn, during the opponent's turn. So a Rise Heart to 0 would definitely be good for the meta game. All right, after that, we're going to be going to the limited list, and the first card I could see Konami putting 2-1 from 0 would be Glow Up Bulb. Now, Glow Up Bulb has been banned ever since Hulk Febrax has broke it, but now that Hulk is gone, we are actually seeing Konami drip us some of the nice tuner support that was banned in Hulk's wake. So we had the Jack Synchron return. Glow Up Bulb has been kind of seeing a little bit of return in the other formats, so following up in the TCG is not too wild to be thinking about. And yes, it is a nice resource gain whenever you do the mill one and it revives itself, but it's not going to be as game breaking, especially since Hulk is gone. And now that there is a ton of secret support coming down the pipeline, it is only fitting to see Glow Up Bulb come off the list back to 1. After that is Dimensional Barrier to 1. And now a lot of players are looking at this and like, just ban it, just ban it. And I like to say, yes, this card is extremely good, and I do believe it needs to be hit, especially when we are seeing decks just side deck 3. A lot of the decks that have been topping these recent regionals have been side decking 3 dimension barriers just constantly. And that is definitely frustrating, especially when we're having formats where it is mainly predominantly one style deck, whether that succeeds, rituals, fusions, whatever. So dimensional barrier definitely shouldn't be at 3 in those regards, especially when it's just that easy of a side deck choice. But going down to 1 really makes it where it's not as consistent. Yes, Labyrinth will still have access to it, but we're not going to be seeing it just 3-3-3 in every deck side deck in the future. After that, going to 1, I do believe we're going to be seeing triple Tactics Talent. This might catch a few players off guard, and I do believe we're going to be seeing talents getting limited in the future, whether it's this list or the list after. I do believe talents is going to be on the chopping block. Not only did we see cards like Gamma get hit, but talent in a way, in some ways, is better than cards like Gamma. And Konami is overall, we see them accidentally, if you want to call it that, leaking out turn 1 support. I think they really do release these cards thinking like, they're like, oh man, this is helping turn 2 so much. And then you realize, yeah, I guess you're activating hand traps against the guy going turn 1, so now they can just do whatever they want to you going turn 1. So talents I do believe is on the chopping block because it is helping going turn 1 players a lot, okay? And then I would like to mention as well that if triple tactics talent as well as dimensional barrier do go to 1, because they're gonna be harder to open up in your opening hand and players will still want them in their opening hand, it is going to have players resort to playing triple tactics thrust, and that is definitely a Konami move right there. Okay, pick up the new product so you can play the product that you're used to and that you love. Okay, if that isn't Konami, I don't know what it is, but I do believe we're gonna be seeing barrier to 1 as well as triple tactics talent. After that, on the 2-1 list, on that limited list, is Kashtira Birth. And again, I think we're going to be seeing a little slow hit to these Kashtira decks. Not only do I think we're going to be hitting that Arise Heart just out of the park altogether, but Birth to 1 will slow down the consistency, especially since we do see Unicorn still at 2. It will force them to choose between the Birth or the Pantheos. So either way, their consistency is going to be kind of trimmed down a bit with Birth going to 1. After that, on the limited list is Sprite Starter. And I can already feel the hateful comments. And I'll be honest, anytime I mention Sprite stuff, I always get some hate. But I do believe we're going to be seeing Konami still hit Sprite decks. And that is because they're extremely consistent, can run all the hand traps, and still have engine just constantly left over, even some follow-up plays. Okay, just tons of extenders in that deck. So I do believe we're going to see Sprite Starter go from 2 to 1 in the near future. And last on the limited list is Bestial Magna Hut. And I do believe we're going to see the Bestial getting hit a little bit because of what we saw in Worlds. TCG won Worlds, USA won Worlds, it was amazing, but I don't think that Konami is going to be too happy seeing the Magna Hut at 3 over in the TCG, kind of with an idea of what it can do if our format kind of gets trimmed down a little bit to represent what we saw at Worlds. So not only is it kind of the makeshift DD Crow with the 2500 attack body that can be virus, but on top of that, you get a free Dragon Search during the end phase. And by the way, you did all this during your opponent's first turn. So yeah, I could definitely see some of the Bestials getting trimmed back in the future ban list. Now, the semi-limited list, and there are a little bit of these, so let's get right into them. But the first one on the semi-limited list would be Evenly Matched. And honestly, ever since its release, again, this is kind of a meta-defining card, just completely wiping out the board. The phrase you never want to hear in Yu-Gi-Oh! Is end a battle phase on an open board. Okay, so as we know, it is heartbreaking, and again, Evenly Matched going to 2 would kind of enforce that a lot of players would be playing things like Thrust to be adding Evenly Matched, the Tactics, Talents, or the Dimensional Barrier. So again, this kind of feeds into that needing that Thrust to be going forward. So Evenly Matched 2-2, guys. Next up on the semi-limited list would be Kashtira Fenrir. Now again, Kashtira has been wreaking havoc, and I do believe we're going to be seeing them hit dramatically on this list, but we're seeing Fenrir teched in things like Vanquish Soul, and honestly, I kind of like that. I like seeing teched. Okay, I like techs. They're really nice. So I believe Kashtira Fenrir to 2, kind of hitting that, the Kashtira deck in general, but keeping it where you can actually tech it in other builds, I believe is healthy for the game overall. Next up on the semi-limited list is Branded Fusion, and I think we're gonna be seeing just a little hit to that branded deck. It has been just really going in on the metagame, and honestly, it's really good to see, but it's been going so long with the branded deck that I do think they're gonna be just hitting just a little off the top, make you search for the Branded Fusion some of your turns, not just open it, and hopefully you don't get Ash Blossomed. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, after that, and this one will probably get me a little bit of hate, but to 2, Book of Moon. Now, I would like to say, and this is for all my ban list predictions, is this what I really think needs to happen for the metagame? No. I think Book of Moon at 3 is completely fine. Now, that being said, in a bunch, if not a just pure majority of the most recent topping decks, okay, of the most recent regionals, a large majority of players are playing Book of Moon, and a lot of them are playing 3. And if they're playing more than Book of Moon, it's Book of Eclipse as well, because not only is it kind of an interruption if you're able to go first and set it. A lot of times just completely shutting down the player altogether by flipping down that resource they need. But if you're going second, it can start flipping down or having to force out those Omni negates that they are able to set up. So I wouldn't be surprised if Konami is just like, all right, let's make it where they have to like really choose what they're playing, or like play a little bit more around and like have a little bit more variety in their counters to these decks other than Boca Moon. And I believe that's why we saw it on the list for so long. It's just a good card. It's just a good card. Now, do I think I should stay at 3? Yes. Do I think Konami's evil? Sometimes. So next on the semi-limited list, I do believe we're going to be seeing Blaster, Dragon, Ruler of Infernos going to 2. Blaster went to 1, no one did anything, and I think they're going to slow leak it up to 2, kind of like they just did in Master Duel. Next to 2, I believe, is Mind Control, and again, I get a little hate every time I mention Mind Control to 2. Get a little hate in the comments, but that's okay. I get a little heartbroken when I see Brain Control getting destroyed like it did, and then Change of Heart coming to 1. But that's neither here nor there. I think Mind Control to 2 is really good just for those, you know, turn 2 Link Climb decks. Just kind of cool. I think it could go to 2. The other thing I think could go to 2 is Naturia Sacred Tree. And I'll be honest, that Naturia Runic deck got a lot of people hating it, but I'm a big fan, and I think Tree to 1 was a little bit of an overstep in the Naturia direction. And I don't think Runic should continue to get hit, but maybe Konami will keep hitting it, just kind of like how they are doing Sprites. Okay, I'm sure Sprites don't think they need to get hit right now either, but no matter what, I'm going to keep it real, Sprites. You're going to keep chugging. Other cards to 2, I believe, would be Dino Wrestler Pankratops, and I might just be on the Copium. Going to keep it real. You know, I said Boca Moon, you know, it's what I think Konami's going to do. This one's what I want. I'm just going to be honest with everyone. I would love to see Pankratops 2. We saw the reign of the Kashtira, and hopefully it's going to be to an end. So it'd be nice seeing Pankratops being able to be splashed in decks past 1. Then last on the semi-limited list is Sprite Blue to 2. Like I said, and I'll keep saying it, even with a hit to Sprite Blue and all these other Sprite cards, we are not going to see Sprites let up. They got the Nimble package, and they're chugging forward with that Rank 2 engine. They are just going to keep going. I really do believe that. Now, to the unlimited list. Cards I think are going to be going to 3 is Spellbook of Judgment. It went to 1. I'm sure a few people tested it out, just realizing spellbooks just aren't what they used to be. And I do believe going to 3 is something we could see for Spellbook of Judgment. And yeah, it could maybe show up here and there, but I don't think it's going to be game warping like it was back in the day. After that, I think Time Seal is another card that, again, was banned for so long. It went to 1. People aren't even trying it, and honestly, if you're somehow having Time Seal be the defining factor in winning the game, a lot of things have happened leading up to that moment. So I do believe Time Seal could definitely go to 3. And then last on the unlimited list, I believe we could see 3 Pot of Desire, and a lot of players really do not want that to happen, but we predominantly see this in decks like Sword Soul, decks like Vanquish Soul, so soul decks, basically decks with soul. And those decks are decks that really need things like Desires to be generating those resources. Okay, so I think Desires to 3 really isn't something that is too far-fetched going to be seeing in the future. Now, I would like to mention, like, kind of 2 off-the-wall ideas, and potentially not going to be happening in this ban list, but I do believe, to be looking forward, we're going to be seeing an unbanning at some point of both Tidal and Redox. I do believe we're going to be seeing all 4 E-Dragons at least at one point, but I think in the future, especially with that E-Dragon Exceed coming out, I think they'll go past 1. I really do. Kind of welcome it at this point. I was around for when they were crazy, but I kind of welcome it at this point, honestly. And then after that, I would like to mention, maybe not this list, but probably next list, I do believe we'll be seeing an increase of Monster Gate or Reasoning, or both, since we're seeing that Infernoid support coming down the pipeline. I could definitely see something like Monster Gate going to 3 in the future. So guys, that is the ban list prediction. If you got anything of it, enjoyed it, or if I didn't even mention something that you think really needs to be mentioned. Maybe you really hate Runic and you want Tip gone. Okay, comment down below what you think. If you got anything from the video, or if this is your first time visiting, definitely drop that sub so you can be seeing when we drop new content on the channel. And as always, guys, stay safe, have a good night, and suck it, nerds.